They say the best bit of driving you'll ever do is on your driving test, and that from there it only goes downhill. And to be honest, in my case, they might have a point. Hello YouTube, Miller Corner here, welcome back once again, and today I'm taking part in a video challenge that I was tagged in by fellow car YouTuber Exhausted. So if you're watching, thanks for tagging me, mate. Now this is about bad habits you've picked up since passing your driving test. When you're on your driving test, particularly in the UK, because of how strict it's become in recent years, you'll do your absolute most to make it the best bit of driving you can possibly do, constantly checking your mirrors, checking your blind spots, pulling away properly, and of course keeping the needle pegged firmly on exactly the speed limit. But once you've passed your driving test, you're out on the road on your own and you don't have to worry about learning and developing and getting better and passing a test, unless of course you lose your license. Of course, naturally bad habits start to develop. You slip and you become gradually a worse driver. And in fact, my driving instructor said that if he were to test pretty much anyone who hadn't taken their test in the last 5 years, they'd be pretty much guaranteed to fail. And to be perfectly honest with you, he was probably right, and I am just as guilty as anyone else is. So here are 5 bad habits that I've picked up since passing my driving test. So the first bad habit that I've picked up since passing my test is a very, very simple one. In fact, it's perhaps the first thing that I was taught when I started learning to drive, and it's about when you pull away. Because when you pull away, you're taught in your driving lessons to get in the car, you get belted up, you get ready, you get the car started and so on, and you should then check your passenger mirror, your rear view mirror, and then your driver's side mirror to make sure there's absolutely nothing coming behind you and that you're in a position where you can safely pull away without hitting another driver or a cyclist or a pedestrian or anyone that might be in your way that you might be about to hit. And of course, naturally, when you're first learning to drive, you're taking in every single bit of information that the driving instructor is telling you, which means you're doing everything perfectly and exactly as told. However, when you actually get to the point where you've learned to drive and you've passed your test and you're not worried about doing that perfectly, because of course on a test you get marked down for not doing it perfectly, your habits tend to slip with that one. And to be perfectly honest with you, 9 times out of 10, in fact, no, forget that, 10 times out of 10, when I get in the car, I am just as guilty for not checking my rear view mirrors, because I will get in the car, I'll start it up, get my seatbelt on and stuff. I might check my main rear view as I pull away, but I'm certainly not checking that one, and I'm certainly not checking that one. I will fully admit that is something I'm guilty of, not properly checking all my mirrors when I pull away, which from a safety point of view, you really think I'd be better at doing. The next one is one that I'm probably going to end up doing now, because when I pull up to a set of lights, if I can see they're red now, I'll dip the clutch on my way to the lights. I'll kind of coast on my way to the lights early. Now there's nothing technically wrong with doing this, and of course it's not really unsafe, but it's kind of a bad habit to get into. You should let the car, particularly if you're going on an uphill or downhill, use the engine braking to get you to the red light, because then you're in a better position to go back to neutral and back to first to pull away with. So it's not a great habit to get into, particularly dipping your clutch and coasting towards the lights. You are going to shorten the lifespan of your clutch by doing that, so that's also worth considering. But that's another bad habit that I have when I'm driving. If I'm going towards a set of lights, I will probably dip the clutch a little bit early if I can see that the light is either red or it's going to be red by the time I get there. The next bad habit I've picked up since passing my test is one of the very basic things that even someone who's never learned to drive will probably know about driving. That's mirror signal maneuver. Now for those of you that don't really know what that is, because I'm presuming you don't drive, basically that means that before you do anything in a vehicle, you should do the following. Check your mirrors to make sure there's nothing behind you for safety. Then you should use your signal, which obviously is going to be your indicator 9 times out of 10 for when you're turning, and then you should make the maneuver, and you should do it in that order to make sure that it's safe around you, to make the signal to notify others so that they're safe, and then make the maneuver itself. So obviously do it in a safe manner. And 9 times out of 10, again, I'm just as guilty as anyone for doing this. I won't necessarily do a mirror signal maneuver. When I come home from work, I'll check in front of me to make sure there's no one going to block my path coming in front of me, obviously. Then I'll indicate, then I'll check the mirrors. But of course, if you're checking the mirrors at that point, it's probably too late. You really should be checking the mirrors before that. So I'm going to highly not advise that you do that. In fact, do as I say, not as I do when it comes to mirror signal maneuver, because for whatever reason, that's just a bad habit I've picked up of doing it, but doing it signal mirror maneuver. Could be worse, it could be maneuver, then do the other two, but yeah, still not necessarily the safest driving move you could make. The next one is one that you're particularly going to do if you're into cars, and if you like cars, and particularly if you've got your car to a point where you like the way it looks, much like I do. and that is when I'm driving along in slow traffic and it's creeping and there's a reflection of my car in a shop window or in the window of another car or something like that, I will stop and look at it. Now if you're at a set of lights, that's not really a problem. You can admire the way your car looks when you're at a set of lights, but obviously if you're looking at your reflection, you're not looking at the traffic lights. So you really do have to be careful. If you are going to admire how awesome your car looks, and I'm sure it does, at a set of traffic lights, you need to be sure that you're not going to screw yourself over by missing the green light altogether, and of course ruining everyone else's day as a result by holding them up more. Looking good. Oh. It's kind of a mean move to hold other people up just so you can look at your own car, but then again, why not? They get to look at it because they're outside of it. You don't get to see how good it looks from the inside, so any chance you get to see the reflection in a window or a car's paintwork, why not? I say go for it, but for God's sake, be cautious and be wary of the people and the cars around you when you're doing it. But the final bad habit I've picked up is perhaps the most dangerous one. This is an absolutely terrible crime to commit, and I can't believe that anyone who does this isn't put into prison for 20 or 30 years. Actually, I think it would probably be punishable by execution. This is the worst crime you can ever commit while driving, and I'm shocked and appalled of anyone that does it. As I'm sure you know, in the UK, the police are very keen to enforce all the speed limits. I mean, forget all the drug crime and all the murderers and all the, you know, truly actual crime going on. If you are disobeying a speed limit, you are basically a murderer as far as they're concerned. And I think the worst driving habit I've picked up is driving 1 mile an hour over the speed limit. As we all know, if you're driving on British roads, you're obviously a robot. You should be able to obey 100% of the rules all the time and never make any mistakes. But occasionally, I have to admit that I do have some human qualities that come out, and I'm not perfect, and I do press my throttle pedal just a millimetre too much, or put just the tiniest little bit of flex into my big toe, and I stray 1 mile an hour over the speed limit. This is wholly unacceptable. It's criminal. It's awful. It's awful. I'm ashamed of myself. I should hand in my driving licence now for committing such horrible, fraudulent, terrible crime. I mean, that could kill people. That doing 31 in a 30, that could kill people. That's a terrible crime. Why are they doing this? Why are they not sticking to the speed limit 100% of the time? Because it's awful, it's criminal, it's shocking and appalling. You ought to be ashamed of yourself if you've ever gone 1 mile an hour over the speed limit. It's wholly unacceptable behaviour, and I think if you don't get arrested, if you don't get thrown in jail for doing 31 in a 30, then there is injustice in this country, and frankly, I'm ashamed of you, and I'm ashamed of the fact that you ever got in a car. So there you have it, 5 bad habits that I've picked up since passing my driving test. Now in fairness, none of these are really excusable, and I really should try harder to do it, but the fact of the matter is, once you're not pressured, you're not stressing out to revise for your driving test and to be as good as you possibly can be, inevitably your standards do slip a little bit. I've said before how hard it is to get a driving licence in the UK, and what with the rules and the standards tightening down year by year, it's only going to get harder. So if you do finally manage to achieve passing your driving test and getting your licence, hold on to it, protect it, drive sensibly, don't endanger yourself or anyone else, and stay on the right side of the law, and more than anything, just go and have fun. Go and enjoy the brilliant, relaxing, exciting, enjoyable experience that is driving. I was tagged to do this challenge by Exhausted, and now I'm going to tag James from JM on Cars and Jack from Catalytic UK. What are 5 bad habits that you've picked up since passing your driving tests? Thanks so much for watching the video, everybody. I really appreciate it. If you liked it, don't forget to click that thumbs up button, and also subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you are notified when a new Miller Corner video is released. And also you can keep up to date with me and all that I'm doing on all of my social networks, including Instagram at Miller Corner, where I post a photo every single day. But for now, thanks once again for watching, everybody, and have a brilliant rest of your day. See you soon, and have a good one.